There we go. We are live. Welcome, welcome. Always got to hit the Instagram live button as well. All right. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining. For those of you who are tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. Take my glasses off because they're um thank you so much for giving a glare. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Dr. Lendra, and we are here to talk about the Health and Wealth Expo, the virtual summit that is taking place on February 22nd. That is just in a couple of weeks. And so if you have not heard about the expo is going to be truly dynamic. It comes from a place of passion. It's truly a passion project for me. And I'm thrilled to be able to share with you one of the speakers today who is going to be speaking all about legal nurse consulting. And if you haven't registered already, you can register at Health and Wealth Expos with an S.com. And I don't know if she needs an introduction, but if she does, here she is, Maggie Ortiz. Maggie Ortiz is going to be speaking about legal nurse consulting. And let me just give you a highlight of what the topics that the nurses are going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how to start an IV hydration business, how to start a legal nurse consulting business, how to start a mental health nursing practice as a nurse practitioner, government contracting. You guys met Dr. Ebony Gray yesterday. She was telling us all about how nurses can just truly make an impact just with government contracting. And I want Dr. Gray's her topic yesterday was something that was very insightful. Just nurses, I don't know, all the time if we think about the impact that we can have with other avenues. And Dr. Gray did a really good job with showing us what we can still do with the government, with those type of contracts. And that's exactly what Maggie and the other speakers are going to do as well. Just really showing us nurses how we can be impactful in other entrepreneurial ways. And Maggie has done a great job on her entrepreneurial journey, but I'll let her tell you more about that. And Maggie, so go ahead. I'm going to just go ahead and let you take it from here, take the floor. Tell the listeners or the viewers a little bit about you and why you decided to speak at the Health and Wealth Expo Virtual Summit on February 22nd.
Well, thank you. And you're hosting it, so why wouldn't I be there? I mean, let's be real. Let's start there. But thank you for inviting me to this space. I've been a nurse for 25 years. That's even crazy to say. This May, I know, and we all the stuff that you're touching on. I started in the ICU, ER, pre-op, PACU, endo, IR, cath lab, a lot of in the hospital setting. And so I learned a lot of different skills. But then when you cross over to, anything else, you can do just about anything you want. And that's the thing with the expos that you're going to be seeing is that right now, whether you've been a nurse for, several months, that doesn't mean that you can't leverage the knowledge that you already have to start a business, to do something that you're truly, passionate about. For me, that was, you alluded to was legal nurse consulting. Because I did spend time at a board of nursing. I had to learn the investigative process. Then I crossed over to be a civil expert. I then became a consultant. These are all very different words. And what I teach in nurses right now with your current education, training, and knowledge, how you can leverage that. Yes, you should if you want to get that certificate or that certification. But do you have to get that to be, quote unquote, a legal nurse? No, I don't have any of that. You see RN behind my name. I don't have any of that, but I can assure you I've been deposed. I've been, asked as an expert into many different spaces, even recently to look at policy in the United States as a subject matter expert because of my education, training, and knowledge, because you leverage that to where you want to be right now. So in the course that I teach, it's on my website, how you can transition over into a legal nurse consultant or a legal nurse, and all these words are very differently. In the first 5 minutes, I teach you that you can leverage where you are right now. And to my nursepreneurs, that's going to be something different. And I have seen nurses, because primarily a lot of the bulk of what I do as a legal nurse is I help nurses and their legal teams when they're under investigation. So I'm leveraging that education, training, and knowledge, right? That someone paid me to learn. So I'm leveraging that to where I am now, not having to spend any other money on that. So I help nurses and their legal teams when they're under investigation. So swinging back to my nursepreneurs, if you're calling yourself a nurse, you got to protect yourself. So it doesn't matter in this, why am I in this space and why I'm in this summit, is to not only teach you how you right now with your current education, training, and knowledge to cross over to legal nursing. You may choose not to do that, but even as a nursepreneur, you do have to understand the rules and regulations that pertains to your license. So my gift here as well is not only to teach you crossover, but if you're using that word as a nursepreneur, you have to protect yourself.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times nurses understand breakdowns of hourly rates, right? As entrepreneurs, we think differently when it comes to money, right? Income compensation. And, you just mentioned how you're getting paid to look at cases. And just to break it down for nurses who work a hourly salary, right? Um, it's so in terms of that, and I shared this with you in the past that I did some legal nurse consulting as well, and I still do, right? And I still can, and that's the thing about that's the beauty of our skills being so transferable. But I say that to say, you can make upwards of 150, $200 an hour or more, and I give that breakdown, right? Just because as nurses, and I'll say this again, we look at things as the hourly rate as opposed to the income, right, that we can make. So just imagine, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about this, because I don't know if, when you say, oh, you can, as an entrepreneur, you can make great money. So what does that mean? And I think, and I break that down because I think as nurses, we look at it like that, like, oh, so you mean I can make, 150 an hour, or I can make 200 an hour, but you're worth so much more than that. And that's the beauty of, and what I want nurses to really take away from by attending this expo and attending sessions like yours, and you being able to show them how they can transfer their skills into a thriving business, right?
Absolutely. And just like you said, it does come down to like the hourly. So as an expert, let's just say you're a life care planner and you work with a personal injury attorney. So all you're looking at is, let's just say someone's needs. Let's just say it's a spinal cord injury. They're 27. For the rest of their life, they're going to have needs. So as a life care planner, you're oftentimes charging $600 an hour to look at this case, to project them out. You're not necessarily the expert pointing out the deviations of the standard of the care. It's already been pointed out. You're the life care planner creating an Excel document to project out their needs, which more often than not, I would direct you to take that certification. That's where you would spend your money on that, to take that skill, your RN, you build on that to be the life care planner certification. You spend minimal money on that. Then you leverage those two things, right, to make $600, whatever it is an hour, because those would be going rates, and you would never want to box yourself in or overprice or underprice yourself. And those are things that we'll talk about. But there are national, standards like you referenced of, a basics of 150, but it also depends on the capacity that you're hired.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you for expanding on that. Thank you. And to your point, it's just to give nurses an idea, right? It's just
Yes.
to,
Yeah, yeah.
because we think in terms of hourly rates as opposed to the wealth that we can
Yeah.
really
But and
really
it could
start.
be, it might be a little bit lesser than that. And I give one example. So you're training, I'm training under you. You're teaching me how to create timelines. You're creating a process. The attorney has reached out to you, given you the whatever amount, the $150 an hour, but you need some help. So I subcontract under you. Maybe I'm only making $50 an hour, $25 an hour, but I'm also learning a skill that's also transferable. I don't have the pressure, but I'm also learning. Then I can now reach out to another legal team or whatever, because now you've taught me a skill. So you can leverage that so that you can make more, money, if that makes sense. So you may start out, because I hear nurses say, well, legal nurse consultants don't make that much. Like right now, while you're learning, maybe, but that's just one word, legal nurse consultant. That's not expert nurse. That's not investigator. That's just one word in this litany of things that I'm going to show you within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the course that you can do. And that rate will be different. But I do suggest, like I would suggest that you do learn under someone else, because it affords you some protection and some skills. I got way long-winded. I'm so sorry. I got on a
No,
tangent.
no, that this is all good. This is good. I think this is what people need to hear because to your point, I've heard that too. Like legal nurse consultants don't make that much. Yeah, if you go and work for, an attorney, you may not,
Yes.
you're not going to make, but you can make if you have your own legal nurse
Yes.
consulting. And I think
Business.
that's yeah, exactly. That's
But
the
some people
that's
don't want the pressure of like owning an own business. And then I tell them, then that is the structure for you. Then that's, you identify that early on. And maybe that's just right now, right? Maybe
right.
5 years from now, whatever, you decide, hey, I can do this on my own and I have the skills. But I tell people, meet yourself where you are. There's
Yep.
nothing wrong with maybe you not wanting to, it's like, it's stressful. You and I, we just talked about this before we got on, because there are things in the back of the house that do have to be figured out when you own a business. And maybe that nurse doesn't want that level of pressure. Then girl, get yourself on over and subcontract through someone who's taken a toxic tort case and they just have 5,452 pages and they need a nurse to look at this. And then you're learning a skill. You get a timeline that you can use. You're learning someone else's basically software to use, and you're honing your own skills as you move along your own journey.
And before you know it, you have a side hustle, right? So I like it. I like it. And if you can, and how does you mentioned that there's a case going on right now? Can you share a little bit about that case
Sure.
that's going on right now?
Yeah. So just came to my attention. So as I, spoke about earlier, I help nurses and their legal teams when they're under investigation. And I think most nurses at this point have heard of the former ICU nurse, Redonda Vaught. She was charged with reckless homicide of an impaired adult in the state of Tennessee when she administered vecuronium instead of Versed. Now, there was a lot of nuances around this case. And so her case is and again, some of that, we talked about some of these nuances, and while I'm pursuing law school, as it pertains to the administrative process, can be confusing. So her case literally right now is being live streamed in the state of Tennessee, being presented some of the procedural processes as it pertains to when you hold a professional license under administrative law, and not trying to get her license back, but some of the procedural processes, it's being presented to several judges who will then go back to the table and then make some decisions. I don't know that there's been any cases presented like this before outside of a dental case in North Carolina, but I'm also starting to leave my lane and why I'm pursuing law school. But it is a big, huge deal in our world, as it pertains to, and why I think we're going to go back to this whole summit thing and why you absolutely should be attending, because once you understand even some of these basic things as it pertains to our license, if you're calling yourself a nurse, friends, you got to understand some basic concepts. So not only are we going to be talking about this in, over the weekend, in the summit, but also in the course that I teach. You may never cross over to be a legal nurse, and that's okay. But this case right here is why every single one of us needs to be paying attention to some legal nursing, and why this summit becomes even more important, and why you need to show up. So it's being live streamed. I got really long-winded, but any nurse calling yourself a nurse, you got to understand some of the nuances. And so legal nursing does afford you some of those basics abilities. So thank you for asking. I try to support nurses. So thank you for, putting this out in the world. She appreciates the support. I'm going to speak out of turn a little bit, but I know her personally. So any kind of support is, beneficial.
Absolutely. And I think you make a great point about nurses needing to know nurses need to know more about, especially now more than ever, they really need to know this, which is why they need to be at the summit so that they can learn. And I guess my last question is going to be why, and I think we kind of talked about this a lot, but just to sum up, why should they come? Why should nurses come? I want them to hear it from you.
Yeah.
I know why they should.
Well, not only because it's just me speaking and you going to be there, but it's everything. It's the health, the wellness, the tie of it. Because if you don't learn how to self-care, what we do is very hard, right? And
Mhm.
there's many nuances, there's many layers to that. So you got to take care of yourself. So the tie of the health and the wellness, there it is, folks, right? And then you fuel your soul, and you and I can speak about this. Once you cross over to the nurse scientist, And I want to say that 12 times. I want you to understand that you're a nurse scientist. Anyone who holds a professional license, you're a nurse scientist. You're innately a nurse innovator. You're innately a nurse creator. So let us help you tap into that, because you may not want to be a legal nurse, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we have, the hydration nurse, and I don't want to speak. I don't have anyone memorized. I so apologize. But there's so many, there's opportunities that we're going to be exposing you to in the summit that affords you the ability. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it's going to start setting you on that path. Because once you change your mindset and you visualize yourself doing something, your actions will start to mirror that. Right. So we're just going to expose you to some things you want to do. I hope that you join. I hope you come to my course. I hope you sign up. But if you don't, it's a level of exposure. It's not about, you'll come back. You'll come back. I promise you.
Yeah. You definitely want to be at the Health and Wealth Expo on February 22nd. You're going to have great influential speakers, experts such as Maggie. Maggie, thank you so much for coming on today and really just letting them know what this is. One of those things that you don't want to miss. It's such an opportunity, and you really want to be in the room where there's going to be just so much exposure, and that's what we need and that's what we want. So there's going to be so much impact. And I like how you said mindset, because mindset is truly what we're going to be really talking. A lot of this is mindset. So as we talk, as the speakers talk, and as they share their expertise, it's really about helping you to, a lot of it is helping you to shift your mindset so that you can understand that you and position yourself to be in a place or a space when you're ready to say, like, you know what, okay, I could do this. I could do something else that's not going to lead me to burnout, or lead me to financial ruins, or lead me to a place where, and you know what, let me just back up on that. When I say financial ruins, what I'm saying is I want nurses to understand their worth. And everyone doesn't look at it as monetary. However, we have such essential skills that we can use them in other ways, where we don't have to stay in toxic work environments. We don't have to stay at a place where someone is choosing when I can go on a vacation. Someone is telling me when I can, take a holiday. And being able to set the pace for yourself and for your family and build that generational wealth, and just build that and change that mindset of needing to have a W-2, or needing to have someone set a pace for me. Start setting your pace for yourselves. And all of that comes with a mindset shift. So I say all this to say, I thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I am looking forward to your session. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on February 22nd, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And there's also an all access session that is, as we talk about being able to start these businesses. I know a lot of people say, as we talked about and reflecting on money and compensation, well, I don't have the funds to do it. We're going to be talking about financial literacy. There's going to be a bonus session that's going to be talking about how to help you fund your business. So you really want to be in the room, be in the room with these experts on February 22nd. Visit healthandwealthexpos.com, and I will see you guys around 2 p.m. You will be hearing from Crystal Parker, who is also going to be talking, an expert speaker, and she's going to be talking about how to start an IV hydration business. So I'll see you guys in the 2 o'clock hour. And thanks again, Maggie, for coming on. Is there anything else that you wanted to share before we go?
No, I think it's amazing. And even if one of these businesses that you see, like I'm offering legal nurse consulting, it's not for you. You don't want to do IV hydration. That's okay. You don't want to do, it's not just about the people that are speaking, the businesses that are there. It is the burnout, some of the stuff that we talk about, it's going to give you exposure to, you're like, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. And so what all we're going to do is show you and tell you that you can do it. You are a nurse scientist, you're a nurse innovator and creator. So even if, let's just say, you don't identify with one of us and what is a business that you may start, it's a lot more than just that. It's the literacy, it's your burnout at your job. Maybe you go part-time and you do develop out something else. This is just an exposure to things that you possibly could do.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. And I can't wait to see you at the expo. So I will see you soon. Thanks again, Maggie.
Ditto.